next place, they had fountains, one of cold and another of hot water, in gracious plenty flowing. And they were wonderfully adopted for use by reason of the pleasantness and excellence of their waters. They constructed buildings about them and planted suitable trees. Also, they made cisterns, some open to the heavens, others roofed over, to be used in winter as warm baths. There were the king's baths and the baths of private persons, which were kept apart. And there were separate baths for women and for horses and cattle. And to each of them they gave as much adornment as was suitable. Of the water which ran off, they carried some to the grove of Poseidon, where were growing all manner of trees of wonderful height and beauty, owing to the excellence of the soil, while the remainder was conveyed by aqueducts along the bridges to the outer circles. And there were many temples built and dedicated to many gods. Also gardens and places of exercise, some for men and others for horses, in both the two islands, formed by the zones. And in the center of the larger of the two, there was set apart a race course of a stadium in width and in length, allowed to extend all around the island for horses to race in. Also, there were guard houses at intervals for the guards, the more trusted of whom were appointed to keep watch in the lesser zone, which was nearer the Acropolis, while the most trusted of all had houses given them within the citadel, near the persons of the kings. The docks were full of triremes and naval stores, and all things were quite ready for use. Enough of the plan of the royal palace. Leaving the palace and passing out across the three, you came to a wall which began at the sea and went all round. This was everywhere, distant 50 stadia from the largest zone or harbor, and enclosed the whole, the ends meeting at the mouth of the channel which led to the sea. The entire area was densely crowded with habitations, and the canal and the largest of the harbors were full of vessels and merchants coming from all parts, who, from their numbers, kept up a multitudinous sound of human voices, and din and clatter of all sorts night and day. I have described the city in the environs of the ancient palace, nearly in the words of Solon, and now I must endeavor to represent the nature and arrangement of the rest of the land. The whole country was said by him to be very lofty and precipitous on the side of the sea, but the country immediately about and surrounding the city was a level plain, itself surrounded by mountains, which descended towards the sea. It was smooth and even, and of an oblong shape, extending in one direction 3,000 stadia, and across the center inland it was 2,000 stadia. This part of the island looked towards the south and was sheltered from the north. The surrounding mountains were celebrated for their number and size and beauty, far beyond any which still exist, having in them also many wealthy villages of country folk, and rivers and lakes and meadows, supplying food enough for every animal, wild or tame, and much wood of various sorts, abundant for each and every kind of work. I will now describe the plain, as it was fashioned by nature and by the laborers of many generations of kings through long ages. It was, for the most part, rectangular and oblong, and where falling out of the straight line followed the circular ditch. The depth and width and length of this ditch were incredible, and gave the impression that a work of such extent, in addition to so many others, could never have been artificial. Nevertheless, I must say that I was told. It was excavated to the depth of 100 feet, and its breadth was a stadium everywhere. It was carried around the whole of the plains, and it was 10,000 stadia in length. It received the streams which came down from the mountains, and winding round the plain, and meeting at the city, was there led off into the sea. Further inland likewise, straight canals of 100 feet in width were cut from it through the plain, and again led off into the ditch leading to the sea. These canals were at intervals of 100 stadia, and by them they brought down the wood from the mountains to the city, and conveyed the fruits of the earth in ships, cutting transverse passages from one canal into another and to the city. Twice in the year they gathered the fruits of the earth, in winter having the benefit of the rains of heaven, and in summer the water which the land supplied by introducing streams from the canals. As to the population, each of the lots in the plain had to find a leader for the men who were fit for military service, and the size of a lot was a square of 10 stadia each way, and the total number of all the lots was 60,000. And of the inhabitants of the mountains and of the rest of the country, there was also a vast multitude, which was distributed among the lots, and had leaders assigned to them according to their districts and villages. The leader was required to furnish for the war the sixth portion of a war chariot, so as to make up a total of 10,000 chariots. Also 2 horses and riders for them, and a pair of chariot horses without a seat, accompanied by a horseman who could fight on foot, carrying a small shield and having a charioteer who stood behind the man at arms to guide the 2 horses. Also, he was bound to furnish 2 heavy-armed soldiers, 2 slingers, 3 stone shooters, and 3 javelin men, who were light-armed, and 4 sailors to make up the complement of 1,200 ships. Such was the military order of the royal city, the order of the other 9 governments varied, and it would be wearisome to recount their several differences.